Good morning, developers. If you are new to the channel, my name is Rob and it is JavaScript Tuesday. We've been going through the updates to ECMAScript since ES6, and today we are in ES12 or ECMAScript 2021 with this goofy looking thing, the logical and assignment. And if you are a little bit fuzzy on the relationship between ECMAScript and JavaScript or just want some background, and if you would like to see the ECMAScript playlist with all of the updates that I've gotten through so far, I'll drop those links in the description. This odd looking thing is a nice utility operator to make our code a little bit more brief. And brevity can be a win if it makes the code more readable, but you need to know how this works in order for it to be more readable. I've got the MDN docs open here, and it says the logical and assignment, which is how we refer to this, operator only evaluates the right operand and assigns to the left if the left operand is truthy. We'll come back to the concept of truthy if you're not familiar with it, but I've got some script tags here inside an HTML file, and what we can do is this, is we can say let x equals 0, and if we run that, so we do x and we'll say 1, okay, this is false, right, because x is 0, so what we've just said there is 0 and 1. In JavaScript, because the first condition has not been met, right, the and means both of these have to be true, and the first one is not, JavaScript will short circuit and simply not run the rest of the code. Or I guess I should say that. So we can put anything over here that we want. I'll put console.log x. Let's do something more like test. Okay, this part here is not going to run because it will never get past that and operator. Over to the browser, if I refresh, absolutely nothing happens. If we come back over and I change this to the number 1 and run the code again, test does run because the first part is true, so this will get evaluated. Even if it happens to be 0, it will get evaluated because that first thing did. So what this means is if we do x, the logical and then an equal sign 1, and then we console.log x, what happens is it checks to see is there anything over here. If there's not, that part doesn't matter. Okay, if there is, then it will evaluate the rest, and what's the rest? We'll assign x to 1. So effectively what this means is that if x is truthy, and back over to the docs, truthy means all values are truthy unless they are defined as falsy, and falsy values are false, 0, negative 0, 0, n, which is big int, empty string, null, undefined, not a number, and document.all. So unless it's one of these things, override it. So what we're saying here is effectively is only assign x to 1 if there's, I'm going to put in parentheses, in quotations, there's something already in x. That's really what we have said here. And I'll give you another example down below here. We'll say let y equals 1. We'll do y ampersand equals 2. Let's do 2, and we'll console.log y. Y is 1, which means we have said 1 and equals 2. Is this left side true? It is, so it's going to go ahead with the rest of the expression, which is just an assignment. So essentially what we have said is this, does y equal something? It does, then go ahead and run this. Up above, does x equal something? It doesn't, so don't run it. So we're looking for line 11 to be 2, not 1. Refreshing the browser, sure enough, it is 2. The short circuit thing, that is a JavaScript thing, and a lot of these updates kind of around this one, the nullish coalescing operator, optional chaining, it gives us a more brief way to deal with what is otherwise oftentimes idiomatic. If you wanted to do this, you might do something like this, where you had y ampersand. Let's actually do x. We'll do x ampersand x equals 3. That is going to do the same thing. X is not going to change because x was initially defined here as 0. So you could write this statement and this will not run because this is not true. Line 14 is still going to be 0. Quick refresh, there it is. Instead of these goofy statements where we're always checking to see if values are there or not, this gives us the ability to cut a whole bunch of characters out and really cut to the chase. What's kind of funny is we can do things like this. I'll comment this one out, and this will be sort of our last example. I can do x and equals, and we can put a bunch of gibberish in here. And we'll do an array raised to the 6th power divided by a, which isn't even a variable, plus b divided by an object. Okay, this is a whole bunch of gibberish. We've got undeclared variables, we've got disparate data types. none of this is going to run. Let's even throw at the end here. We'll add a console.log hello. Okay, so this is complete nonsense. None of it's going to run because x is 0, and this will short circuit it. Refresh, and it doesn't run. Just to wrap things up here, going back one page, they've got an example, they've got the syntax, and they show here what we just looked at. This is equivalent to that, except that the expression x is only evaluated once. It will not, the second time, check to see what x is. It will only check it on that first try. And they've got an example here that should really feel violating. Const x equals 0. This will never get run because x is falsy. So even though you're trying to assign a constant, JavaScript, or rather the interpreter, will never even get to that part. A couple more examples at the bottom, similar to what we already looked at, but this has good support going back a long ways, at least 2 to a full 3 years in most browsers. I have not found tons of opportunities to use it because really it comes down to, do you need to check to see if a variable already has a value? If so, then use it. That's going to be your use case. Thanks so much for watching. I'll link another JavaScript Tuesday video, and I will see you next time.